Welcome to another episode of Dan Pearson Photo TV. Today we're taking a look at the GoPro Hero 5 and we'll be giving you my initial review on this fantastic new product from GoPro. Not only am I reviewing this as a standalone product though, I'm going to put it head to head with the GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition, which was GoPro's previous top of the line camera. And the question I'll be asking is, does it stack up as a upgrade? Is it worth the money over the previous GoPro Hero 4? As part of this review, I'm taking a look at the sound, the stabilisation, how much difference a screen makes, utilising this in water, and talking to you about some of the other feature sets that are included on this camera, including the new RAW file feature on the GoPro Hero 5, which will be a major advantage to photographers. As we know, RAW files are a lossless type of file, and I'm going to be going through one of these images and editing this within Photoshop to show you just how far you can push one of these images without getting any major degradation. Effectively, this is for you to decide whether or not this camera is for you. I will be doing lots more tests with the GoPro Hero 5 against the GoPro Hero 4 over the coming weeks and giving you more tutorials. For now, enjoy this particular review and don't forget to subscribe. It's important. We would love to hear your thoughts. Comment below and let me know what you would like to see in terms of testing with these two products, and also make sure that you're letting us know your thoughts on this particular review itself. See you at the end of this. Right guys, so we're going to test out the microphones between the GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition, which is on my right hand side, and the GoPro Hero 5, which is on my left hand side. Now, I always could get by just about with the GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition. The sound quality is not amazing, but it was okay as long as it was close enough to you. It did a reasonable job. But the GoPro Hero 5 has a whole host of new features in there, including a 3 microphone system, and also obviously a little bit more in the way of technology. So let's see which one of these two does the best. At the moment, you will be hearing the GoPro Hero 5, and I'm about to switch over to the GoPro Hero 4. So this is me speaking now on the GoPro Hero 4. You're hearing the microphone, and I'm now going to switch back to the GoPro Hero 5, which is me speaking now on the GoPro Hero 5. GoPro Hero 5, how are you today? Now, we're doing around 50 miles an hour in a Land Rover Discovery, which isn't the quietest of cars. It has the aerodynamics of a brick, although it's a great car. It does make a reasonable amount of noise when you're driving, so hopefully you'll be able to hear a little bit of background road noise and make your own minds up as to which one of these two cameras is the best. We're expecting the GoPro Hero 5 to excel here, but of course it's by how much, and then it's for you to decide whether or not the GoPro Hero 5 is a worthwhile upgrade from the Hero 4 Black Edition or from one of the other cameras. If you're coming in new to GoPro and you want to buy the top of the range camera, GoPro Hero 5 is going to be your first choice anyway. So we'll see you for another test in a few seconds. So, just to recap, we've got our RAW file loaded into Adobe Photoshop here. We've just done the update to Adobe that will allow the piece of software to read the new file format from the GoPro Hero 5. Okay, so once again, just to recap for you guys who are not photographers, this is a lossless format. It's effectively the data that the camera sensor records at the time of taking the photo. The advantage of this for you as a photographer or as a GoPro owner is the fact that you can make pretty dramatic changes to this RAW file without degrading the file. Previously, your file would have come out in a JPEG format. The camera's already made decisions about how the file is edited, and when you're going to start to push the file, you're going to really degrade the file quite quickly. So in here we've got the temperature slider at the top, and I'm going to do a couple of extreme things with this. Pulling this all the way over to the left hand side is going to really drag those cool tones in, and all the way to the right is going to really drag those warm tones in on this particular file. Okay, so what I'm going to do is make some changes as we go along and allow you guys to see effectively just how far we can push this and what I might do to a typical edit. So I'm going to warm up this image a reasonable amount by pulling the temperature slider over to the right hand side. This shot is actually slightly underexposed. We're shooting straight into the sunset here, so there's actually not as much shadow detail here as we would like. Now previously with your JPEG files you were going to struggle to really get any detail out of the shadow areas within there, certainly without degrading the file as just mentioned. Here we've got the shadow slider in the right hand control, and I can pull this over to the right hand side, and effectively we'll start to gain a lot of detail in those shadow areas, as you can see from just doing that. This is a little bit undersaturated. The colours in the sky were certainly a lot brighter than they are here. I'm going to make a vibrance adjustment first of all, just by pulling the slider over to the right, and I'm going to boost overall saturation a little bit as well. Okay, now that's starting to look quite good. Now there are lots and lots of other things that we can do with this file, and there's lots of ways to push the raw file. I'll go through that on another tutorial at some stage. Here we've got obviously a number of other options. I've come over now onto the curves tool, so I can make a curves adjustment to this. This will help me to adjust the lighter tones and the darker tones within the image. I'm going to pull the highlights a little bit to the right, and also the lights a little bit to the right here. Pull that a little bit more actually. I'm going to pull the darks a little bit to the right, but then I'm going to pull the blacks round to the left and just darken those off again. So that's going to give me a fair degree of change in terms of global contrast. I'll quickly fly through some of these other options. We've got the sharpening options here. We've got HSL, which is highlight, saturation and luminance. We can change some of these colours. I'll give you a quick example. Take these oranges on the horizon here. I can come in and make those slightly more red, as you can see, just by tweaking some of these sliders. And again, because this is a raw file, I can do this really effectively without really pushing the image at all. This is one of the advantages. I'm going to have a quick look at this at 100%, and I can really nail in now and see the detail within this file, see what I'm doing, make any changes that I want to do before I finish off. I might want to come back and actually just make a slight sharpening change here. Now I'm not saying these are the correct settings to use, I'm literally just playing around with this, just giving you some examples of what you can do. Coming back to this particular file and viewing this at 50%, okay, let's go up a little bit, let's go to 66. What I can do here now is show you a before and after. We can see we've made some pretty sizable changes to the actual image. And as I go through these different options here, you can see how much extra detail we've pulled out in the shadows. You can see exactly what we've done. We've got so much more detail on the side of these buildings over here. I've really still not pushed the file as far as I could, but the options there, we've made a massive difference to the color tones, color temperature, etc. as we've gone through this file. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a great image. This was just taken as part of the earlier tutorial, but once again it's just illustrative of what you can do with the raw file. If you're a photographer, this is a major boost for the GoPro Hero 5 over the GoPro Hero 4, and again, for some people this in itself will possibly be worthwhile upgrading from some of the earlier models. If you're just coming into the GoPro lineup and you have the budget, again, this really is a good tool. A lot of guys are using these to take on holiday, and you're in high contrast situations quite often, shooting into sunsets, shooting into sunrises, images that are backlit, shooting in RAW, and then bringing these files back to Photoshop or Lightroom will then give you the best chance to recover all of the detail within your shots and really make the most of your holiday images, or also your sports and performance images, action photos, whatever it is that you're actually using your GoPro for. Ultimately, play around, enjoy the files, see what you can do with it with your own photos. Don't forget though, you need to be running the latest editions of Photoshop and Lightroom and have done the updates to be able to edit these files, these raw files. They come through as a .gpr file. You'll see them within your folder once you've transferred them over, and make sure that you just drag them into those programs and really push them to get the best out of your images. So we've got the two GoPro Heroes set up down here. We've got the Hero 4 Black Edition and also the Hero 5. They're both doing a time lapse at the moment, so we're going to have a little look at these. Sun's going down, it's going to be a little bit low light. It'll be interesting to see how the new Hero 5 stacks up against the 4 in this lower light set here. See you soon. So we've had the Hero 5 and the Hero 4 Black Edition head to head doing a time lapse now for around 20 minutes at 5-second intervals. So we're going to turn them off shortly and take them back and see what we've got. Let's see if the Hero 5 can stretch out a margin against the Hero 4 Black Edition with its improved low light performance as the sun is setting and light levels are going down. We've got the GoPro Hero 5 on the left and the GoPro Hero 4 on the right. It's pretty clear that there's not too much difference between them, although the GoPro Hero 5 is a little bit more accurate in terms of colour. We're going to go through to 100% now, and we can see once again not a lot of difference in this type of lighting condition. After twilight, the GoPro Hero 5 does eke ahead with its low light performance. So, where are we on video modes? Well, there's some interesting developments here. We've still got 4K, we've still got 24 frames per second, we've got 30 frames per second, we've got 1080 up to 120 frames per second. If we shoot in at 30 frames per second in terms of our video and we introduce a 120 frames per second clip, for every 4 seconds of footage that we shoot, we're going to have a 16-second slow-mo, or for 1 second we're going to have a 4-second slow-mo. So that's a really good advantage, still keeping HD, so that's enabling us to get some nice slow-mo shots at a slightly better resolution. Did I expect more? In all honesty, yes I did. I actually thought GoPro would deliver a camera that would do 240 frames per second at a 1080p resolution, but that's not happened yet. I'm sure it will in the future. In terms of the other modes on this, we've got some lens correction within this now. We have a linear mode which attempts to take some of the barrel, some of the distortion and fisheye effect of this very wide angle GoPro lens out of the equation. We've still got our narrow, we've still got our wide, we've still got our super wide or super view. We've got all of those modes still included, but that linear mode is a nice feature and a new addition. Saves post-processing time. We don't have to take it through to an editing suite and actually run a camera correction profile against it. We're now able to do that straight away in the camera, and I like that. We've got 240 frames per second on this, actually at 720. Never really loved that mode. The quality does go down quite a bit, but it's usable. It's usable, and I have used it. I've used it this weekend. You'll see some of that in some of the slow-mo footage that we've taken from this camera on the jet skis, doing a little bit of wave jumping like now. And as mentioned, the other big advantage is the fact that with this we're able to go in off the back of the screen and change those settings really quickly. That actually invites you to use the camera in a different way. Sometimes over the weekend I've been filming at 30 frames per second, I've been able to switch to 120, switch to 240, switch to 4K, 1080, 720p. All of those things have made this camera a lot more flexible than the GoPro Hero 4. It's not just about the quality of the camera and the quality of the images and whether or not it's significantly better in those respects. It's actually about how you use the camera as well. And I think there's a shift with this. It's a slightly different psychology. It's a slightly faster camera to use. Any pro photographer will tell you that they know their cameras inside and out. There's no point missing a shot because you are too slow to make changes to the camera's settings. That does happen sometimes. You need to know your camera inside and out. What GoPro have done here with the new screen on the back is actually make fast setting changes much more accessible. And that makes the camera more accessible. And that makes the camera much more useful. You're less likely to miss a shot. And all in all, that is a major step forward with this particular camera. We've got the screen and we've got the 4K, and we've got the 30 frames per second, and we've got the linear modes. All of these things are starting to bundle together and making this actually a very worthwhile upgrade over the GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition. So here we have the back of the GoPro Hero 5 and its touchscreen. We've got access to all of the modes that we would have on the GoPro here through video, photo, and also our time-lapse modes. Now, in the video module, we can select our video. We've got very, very quick access to all of our resolutions. So we have our 1080p set in there. We've got access to 4K, change it to 2.7K throughout the whole resolution range. We're going to stick with the 1080. Our frames per second is available here. In 1080 we've got 120 frames per second available at the fastest shooting rate. We have to go down to 720p to be able to shoot at 240. Here, once again, you've got all of your options and it's a simple tap and press and we pick the mode that we want to be in and the frame rate and the resolution. Here we've got our field of view and you'll notice the new linear mode which is available. Now linear will attempt to take out of some of the distortion that the fisheye lens creates within this particular camera. And it works really well, and it's faster to do this actually in camera than it is to mess around in post-processing. We have our other fields of view, including narrow, wide angle, and super view, etc., that are also available. Coming back here, we can quickly flick over to photography, and under the photo module, we've got the night function, we have the burst function, etc., all of which are, once again, very, very easily accessible. Time-lapse mode, and again we can click into time-lapse and we've got access to the screen there as well. This is a really well put together improvement for GoPro over the Hero 4. Obviously the Hero 4 Silver Edition did have this but doesn't shoot in the same way in terms of 4K, etc. This is something that we really, really like and something that we're very, very keen on with the GoPro Hero 5. The case, as you can see, is rubberized at the front, and that in itself is a nice benefit. It feels very solid, it feels well protected. Again, we've got this removable lens cap section here, which can be taken off should we actually damage the lens element at any stage. It seems well built. The actual back screen feels relatively resistant. Obviously, as you can see here, if I just angle that, it does mark up from kind of finger grease, etc., but it does clean down relatively quickly as well. It's good, we're impressed with it, we like the form factor, and the accessibility to all of those modes is definitely something which is a big improvement over the previous editions. For those of you who don't have the GoPro Hero 4, this is what you're faced with. You know, once again, we'd have to take this out of its case to be able to get access to the camera. We then have to turn the camera on. And we'd have to start to go through the actual modes on here. Now, when we hit the settings option here, and we want to start going through settings, as you can see, we've got to go through this myriad of menu options to start to make changes. All in all, this is actually quite difficult to read, and the GoPro Hero 5 screen does avoid most of these issues. It makes it child's play to make some very fast edits. Now, I've been a GoPro user for a long time, and despite that, even I quite often would forget where certain options are. Literally, it can be very, very hard to spot these in the dark, or certainly in low light conditions. There's no backlighting here, and that is a problem for the way in which most people use a GoPro. Come through here, yes, okay, on this we've got the option to use the side button to instantly access the menu options within an individual mode, but at the same time that's still not ideal, and we're still faced with having to repeatedly press through menu after menu to get where we want to be. GoPro Hero 5 makes all of that redundant and provides it all in a very good, very compact, small package, with very little change over the previous format. As you can see, well done GoPro. We like it. We like it a lot. So, how does the stabilisation work on the GoPro Hero 5? Well, it's software based. This isn't a mechanical stabilisation. And in the most part, it actually works quite well, although it's not perfect. I've not really had time to test this out thoroughly yet. However, I've ran these against a Hero 4 and it definitely does make a difference. It's not ideal, but it's good, and I think there are situations where you'd be quite thankful to have it. Both of these sets of clips were taken with the cameras mounted onto a mini Manfrotto tripod and just handheld, and it is clear to see that the GoPro Hero 5 is more stable, but we'll let you make your own minds up and we'll have another review on the stabilisation shortly. So, the final question is, should you buy the GoPro Hero 5? The answer is yes. Is it a worthwhile upgrade to the GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition? Again, the answer is yes. The screen alone is worth its weight in gold. It totally changes how you use the camera, and the menu system is actually very good indeed. If we add on all of the other improvements that GoPro have put into this model, then it makes sense to buy this over any of the previous incarnation of GoPro. For me, it's the best action camera out there at the moment and should firmly put GoPro back on top of the tree in terms of action cameras. It's my recommendation. I'm looking forward to using this camera over the coming weeks, and I will be providing you with more videos, reviews, tutorials on how to get the most out of this. So please subscribe again and keep an eye out for new videos as and when they arrive.